Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome to all of you, the Luminati. Welcome to another installment of the Lume Wars series, Lume Wars episode 12. Now, I did not know, honestly, hand on heart, if Lume Wars was going to be back this year after the Signum CUDA full lume dial wiped the floor with the competition in the last installment I made way back in July 2022. Was it all over? Was the series effectively dead? But I thought I would come back today and give it one last go to see if that Signum can be dethroned as the king of lume. And I've got a couple of big hitters. I've got a $5,000 Tudor, I have got two former winners on the table today, and I have got two full lume dial micro brands aiming to fight fire with fire. But do we have a serious fight on our hands today, or is it going to be another whitewash? Let's flip the camera and meet the contenders. Indeed, let's. Starting with the aforementioned $5,000 Tudor, this is my Black Bay 58 that I bought as a bit of a treat for finishing my doctorate last year. Now, Tudors don't have a great history on Lume Wars, despite the big price tags. They haven't always done that well. I do enjoy putting an inverted commas luxury watch on the table in every one of these episodes to see how they get on. Big dollars does not equal big lume, let me promise you that. In fact, there's a danger I'm going to prove it directly by comparing it to a Tudor homage by none other than San Martin, of course. This is a relatively new one, NH34 powered, coming in at under $300 US. I'll leave links to these various watches in the description of the video as usual. Will the homage have better lume than the original? A tasty subplot for episode 12. But this is the first of the great white hopes today, the Borealis Seastorm Mark II GMT. When I reviewed this one late last year, I said the lume was bloody good for a prototype, and I'd be interested to see what the production units were like when I was sent mine. Well, I was sent mine. Here it is. The lume's really good. Just how good we're about to see. And it's going head to head with another micro full lume in the form of this Revelo, the Admiral GMT. This one's in the queue for review. Maybe 2 weeks time it'll get the full treatment. The looks are unique. The lume is pretty good though. And I did say a couple of former winners were back on the table today. Kind of. This is the cousin of a former winner. This is the Formex Reef GMT. Now, the original Reef Diver that I had at the beginning of 2021, I think, it won an episode. So, Formex have chops when it comes to lume. I expect no different from this one, just because they've added a fourth GMT hand to it. Similarly, the Steel Dive 1970. Now, my green Steel Dive took out its Lume Wars episode maybe 2.5 years ago. One of the most economically viable watches ever to win an episode. I then bought this black one. Let's see if the lume's consistent across the Steel Dive range apart from anything else. Now, they say the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, but despite that, I intend to put the Helm Vanuatu head to head with the Signum CUDA again. It got beaten last time. I just got the feeling that maybe the batteries weren't powerful enough in my torch, maybe the Vanuatu wasn't on good form that day. Let's see how mad I am. Let's try them again. And there it is, the dark horse, but not literally dark, on the end, the Signum CUDA full lume dial. There are a range of these in a range of different dial colours. They're all bonkers, but this was the most bonkers of all. The Lume King. Let's see if it's still king in 8 minutes. Alright, let's get on with it. Usual format, 4 quarterfinals, 2 semi-finals, then a final. No third, fourth place playoff because who cares? Now, I still film all of my lume videos on my older camera. It films in 20-minute chunks, and I still maintain that 20 minutes on that camera is anecdotally like 4 hours of human eye equivalent. I wear my watches throughout the night, so I get to judge how they fade, and I reckon 20 minutes equals about 4 hours. So if these are going for an hour, that's all night lume capabilities. All of these watches have pretty good lume, otherwise they simply wouldn't be here. The two we're starting off with though are the Tudor Black Bay 58 on the left with that 14-ed old radium style lume, and the Tudor Black Bay Pro lookalike by San Martin on the right, employing BGW9, so you get a paler, whiter, bluer glow that generally does better. Now, when I turn the speed up on these two, you can see that the lume on the hour hand of the San Martin isn't particularly well applied. There's a kind of pocket in the middle, inconsistent. You can also see though that the lume on the Tudor isn't well applied, generally speaking, particularly those indices. They fade faster than the San Martin. Now, I'm going to call this one at 40 minutes. I'll slow it back down to 1x. Yeah, it's the San Martin that wins. Perhaps the BGW9 has helped here, but really, Tudor, for the price disparity, you should be doing better in these competitions, but you're just not. Alright, this is what Lume Wars is about. This is why I started this series and why I keep coming back to it time and time again. Borealis on the left, Revelo on the right. I don't need to tell you that. Their logos are loud and proud front and centre, both with insane amounts of BGW9, dial, hands, indices, bezel insert all over the place. Interestingly, both of them using the NH34 movement, so both have a 4th GMT hand. When I speed these up though, you can see the Borealis stays brighter for longer. Now, it's not necessarily all about brightness, it is about legibility, so the hands are all important. But you can see the Borealis hands are still doing really well after 40 minutes. Hey, the Revelo's doing okay too, but not nearly as well. Now, I've decided for expediency to call these at an hour today unless I really cannot separate them. So I'm going to slow down back to 1x on the hour at 11 o'clock. The Revelo's doing okay, the hands are still there, the bezel insert's there, but most of the dial is gone. The Borealis, on the other hand, is still looking really good after an hour. It moves on to the semis. Next up, it's Formex Reef GMT on the left and Steel Dive on the right. Again, the Formex is going for BGW9, it's got that ice white blue glow. The Steel Dive is going for whatever, frankly. The hands don't match the dial, don't match the bezel insert, but that didn't matter. The hands are what won the Steel Dive its previous installment. Will those hands win out the day today? No, they fade really quite quickly. It just shows there's a bit of inconsistency across each of these Steel Dive models. The Lume on this one is not nearly as good as it was on my green model. I don't even have to go much beyond 20 minutes. The Formex is the winner here. The Steel Dive's hands are already fading too quickly. No repeat victory today for the Steel Dive. Okay, bring on the madness. Helm Vanuatu on the left, Signum Cuda on the right. Perhaps I just didn't want the Helm to lose so easily. Perhaps I've always put Helm watches in general, and the Helm Vanuatu in particular, on a pedestal when it came to Lume. This watch really blew me away in the early days of the channel and continues to impress. This one is part of my current ongoing collection. But is it good enough to beat the Signum? Well, no, it genuinely isn't. The Signum is just sensational when it comes to Lume. This is Cal from Stratton's sub-brand. He plays around with colour, he plays around with dial material, and he plays around with Lume very successfully indeed. The Helm's doing okay, the bezel insert's pretty much gone at 40 minutes, the dial is okay, the hands are still there, but they're there nothing like the extent that the Signum Cudas are still there. It beats the Vanuatu again, no surprises there really. Alright, semi-final number one, San Martin versus Borealis. Who's your money on? I wonder. My Lume obsession dates back to a Tag Heuer F1 Grand Date full Lume dial that I had a number of years ago. I didn't even know it was full Lume dial until I got it home and turned off the light on my first night of ownership. I got quite the shock, I must say, but it started a love affair with Lume that continues to this day and is exemplified by watches like this Borealis Seastorm. The bezel insert is immense, and they've used an interesting mixture of contrast and Lume. Lume on the hands, but the hands themselves are quite broad, and black contrasting indices. Very, very effective indeed. So effective that it easily beats the San Martin and moves into the final. But who will it face there? Will it be the Formex? Will it be the Signum? Let's find out. As I said, it's not necessarily all about quantity, it's about quality as well. And as long as the main hand set, as long as the hour and minute hand are applied well, any watch is capable of winning this competition on the right day. 20 minutes, the Formex is still going strong. 40 minutes, the Formex is still going strong. But I'm going to slow it back down to 1x here. The minute hand on the Formex is the problem. It's just not as bright as the hour hand, for example, and it's not bright enough to beat the Signum. It's not bright enough for me to bother going to an hour. It was pretty easy in the end. The Signum's in the final. Give yourself 10 points if this was the final that you expected. Yeah, look at these two. Absolutely amazing in terms of Lume. You will not be disappointed by either of these watches after dark performance. Let me assure you of that. I think a glance at your chosen device right about now will assure you of that quite nicely. But let's crank the speed up on these and see which one takes victory today. 20 minutes, they're both still doing really well, nothing much to separate them. Let's go to 40 minutes. Again, both watches still super legible. It's really easy to read the time after 40 minutes. That, as I said, is about 8 hours of human eye equivalent, I think. That's all night Lume. It's pretty much all you actually need, unless you live in a cave. But let's take it beyond that. Let's take it all the way to an hour. In fact, let's go to an hour and 20 minutes and then slow these down to 1x. Now, I appreciate everybody's screen is different. When I look at my raw footage, the Borealis, you can just about see the hands, but the dial, the bezel insert, I'm afraid, are gone. The Signum, on the other hand, you can see the hands, you can see the indices, you can see the bezel insert, you can still see most of the dial as well. It is just such a strong performer. Victory last July wasn't a fluke, it's done it again, it's a double winner. So go on, Signum Cuda, look smugly at the camera and bask in your second victory in Lume Wars. It was closer than I thought though. That Borealis ran it very, very close indeed. Like I said, you would not be disappointed by the Borealis. You'd be really impressed with it if you bought one of these looking for all-night legibility via traditional Lume. But it just couldn't quite cope with the Signum. The sheer volume of Lume and the even application across all components of the watch face means it's a clear winner again today. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you like this series, why not watch another one here or here? Thanks for watching. I'll see you all again in a future video, I hope.